Hey everyone, welcome to another one of my first impressions videos. Last time we looked at Fire Emblem 3 Houses for the Switch, and now today we're going to be looking at The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening for the Switch. This is the remake to the 1993 Game Boy Classic that's been praised to the high heavens back in the day, but now it's time for an update. I did used to own a copy of Link's Awakening Deluxe, which basically had color and a brand new dungeon. But unfortunately, my Game Boy and my Game Boy Advance collection mysteriously disappeared a couple of years ago, so I have no idea where they are now. I can't seem to find it anywhere, and I may just have to lose hope and start over, which is a shame. Yeah, the only Game Boy games I actually have left are Tetris, and as for my Game Boy Advance collection, I have Mario vs. Donkey Kong. I have actually played the original Link's Awakening a couple of times, and it's good, but it's not one of my favorite Zeldas. It's got a few interesting ideas, but the limited Game Boy hardware did ruin the experience somewhat a bit, mostly the item swapping. I'll go more deep into that when I eventually do cover Link's Awakening, but in the meantime, yeah, it was just a bit of a faff going through all that inventory management and just having to choose the right equipment for the right situation. The announcement for the remake just sort of came out of the blue during one of Nintendo's directs, but regardless, I was very excited to play this, and I was really looking forward to seeing how much they would improve upon the original game. The graphics, for starters, look great. They're very colorful and vibrant, and while this does reduce the more ominous tone of the original to some degree, I still think it looks fantastic. It reminded me a lot of A Link Between Worlds for the 3DS, which was another game I wholeheartedly loved, but it also felt like this is probably how people thought the original looked back in the day. Link himself is absolutely freaking adorable. He's a lot more expressive than other incarnations of him, and minor stuff like him doing a little shuffle while raising his shield and doing a flutter jump just before he uses the Pegasus boots really makes me smile. Unfortunately, the same can't be said for the frame rate, which I don't understand why this is the case for such a simple looking game. In a lot of areas, it caps at 60 frames per second, but in other areas it drops significantly and it's really distracting. It completely takes me out of the experience, and I hope it gets patched at some point. Gameplay's pretty much the same as it was in the original, but there are a few things added to make it feel a little more modern. The biggest change is the item management, which was a major pain in the ass in the original, given that the Game Boy only had 2 buttons. Even your sword and shield had to be equipped, and that was not ideal at all. Now in the remake, items like the sword, shield, power bracelet, and Pegasus boots are permanent upgrades, which greatly reduces the time you would have spent in the original's inventory screen. You have no idea how good this felt after suffering from the original stopping and swapping. I would have liked a couple more item buttons to use because the bumpers and the triggers do the exact same thing, so I reckon they could have used either one of them to allow us to equip more stuff, especially when stuff like the rock feather is required a lot for progression because you have to keep jumping over bottomless pit after bottomless pit, so there wasn't really much point in unequipping it. Dungeons are also still much more basic than your average Zelda game. In fact, I'm not sure if they actually changed anything at all. They're still very Game Boy-like, which is not a bad thing, and it's great for any newcomers to the Zelda series. The problem, though, is that some of the cheap hazard placements from the original are still here, like the moving blades that hit you as soon as you enter the room. This is 2019. Even back then, this wasn't good level design. This kind of stuff doesn't always happen, but you're guaranteed to take a few cheap shots occasionally, and that's bullcrap. I had a couple of issues when it came to searching for new areas as well. The one that immediately comes to mind is when you're on your way to the 4th dungeon looking for the Angler Key, which is on the southeast side of the map in the desert. However, the area is surrounded by water that you can't swim across, so I spent over an hour trying to search where to go. But I got so tired of exploring that I caved in and looked up a guide, which I really hate doing in video games. In this case though, I'm glad I did. Turns out there was a specific bush I had to cut that would reveal a staircase leading to the desert. How the hell was I supposed to figure that out? It said in the guide that the bush moves a little to distinguish it from the rest, but I didn't even notice. No hints tell you about this either, so I definitely marked a few points down for that. The last thing to mention is this new dungeon creator added to the Zelda series, which you can find in Dampé's shack. You have a basic set of pre-made rooms to choose from, and you have to connect them to other rooms to make your own dungeon. Different rooms have different sets of enemies and obstacles, while some don't have much at all. And you can place a boss at the very end of the dungeon if you wish to do so. It also has amiibo functionality, which unlocks unlock specific sets of rooms depending on which series of Zelda amiibos you use. So for example, if you use this game's cute Link amiibo with a strangely glossy texture, this allows you to place a Dark Link in the room for you to fight. It's not the best use of amiibo, honestly, and this dungeon creator overall is rather underwhelming. It's not nearly as intricate or customizable as something like Mario Maker, but I do see potential for this to become something greater if a few tweaks were to be made. As far as I'm aware, you also can't seem to send your dungeons across the globe like you can in Mario Maker, so that may be something to consider as well. So overall, while it does retain a few issues from the Game Boy original, the remake for Link's Awakening is still pretty damn fantastic. Still not the best Zelda game in the lineup in my opinion, but there's no denying that the remake is definitely better than the original. It's perfect for the Switch as both a good console game and a good handheld title, and it's still one of the most bizarre and weird Zelda games out there, which is a good thing. If you have a Switch, or if you haven't experienced Link's Awakening to this day, then now is a good time to try it out. It's definitely one of the most unique Zeldas out there, despite not being my favorite in the lineup. Certainly add this to your Switch collection. You'll get plenty of enjoyment out of it, and this game's sense of humor is just wonderful. Sorry that it's been a while since I've made a Trash or Treasure video. Things have been hectic at work lately, and I've also been in Toronto, Canada for a week, so things are just scrambling all around here. But I assure you that I am working on the Devil May Cry 5 review. The script is done, I just need to put everything together. And I'm also doing the looking back at video for Catherine with the re-release of Full Body on the PS4, so hope you look forward to that as well. Alright, take care, and I will see you then for the next 2 videos.